Trevor Lawrence has been the consensus #1 pick in this draft since he graduated high school. The New York Jets have already met with Zach Wilson and his family, and after trading away damn near their entire future to move up from number 12 overall to number 3 overall, well, it's all but guaranteed that the 49ers are going to take a quarterback at number 3 overall. Now, that begs the question, what are the Atlanta Falcons going to do at number 4 overall? Are they going to start over with the new head coach and the new GM in town, or are they going to continue to rely on Matt Ryan as they just restructured the contract earlier this offseason, and they're pretty much stuck with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and some of the other pieces on their offense moving forward? That's right. Today, folks, we're going to be talking about why the Atlanta Falcons must draft Kyle Pitts at number 4 overall, as well as an NFL mock draft for my top 12. Josiah.
What's up?
Roll the clip.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that, yeah. Here comes the.
Welcome back to the channel. No. All right, welcome back to Steezy Smith. And for those of y'all who are new to this channel, and if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for us. Join the family, join the team. Don't forget to also leave us a like, drop a comment if you enjoyed, and follow us on all social media platforms at Steezy Smith to keep up to date with the latest content in the sports world. Going back to what I said earlier, we're going to be talking about my NFL mock draft for the top 12 and why the Atlanta Falcons must draft Kyle Pitts at number 4 overall. You're tuning to Steezy Smith, and let's get to cooking. As I mentioned earlier, at number 1 overall, my projected number 1 pick is Trevor Lawrence, and that's pretty much a consensus pick amongst all NFL draft analysts. Like I said earlier, he's been the consensus and the projected number 1 overall pick since he was in high school. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, for them, biggest question with this pick really is, what are they going to do with Minshew Mania? Are they going to trade him? Is he going to be a backup? Or is there going to be a quarterback competition between Gardner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence? Now, with the latter, I highly doubt that that's an option. And so it'll be very intriguing to see where Gardner Minshew ends up, whether that's via trade or will the Jacksonville Jaguars really release him. We'll see, but consider this pick as locked in. Number 1 overall, out of Clemson, quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Moving on to number 2. Once again, like I said earlier, the New York Jets have already met with Zach Wilson's family, and they've done all the concessions and pretty much everything for the young man out of BYU. And so consider this also another pick that's locked in at number 2 overall, Zach Wilson. While there are a few concerns about some of his competition over at BYU and his lack of game-changing tape, because last season was really his only great season in college, well, with the right coaching staff and with the right team around him, I don't think that's going to be an issue in the long run. What the New York Jets really do need is a quarterback that they can build upon for the future. And with the trade of Sam Darnold just a couple of weeks ago to the Panthers, well, that all but ensures that they are also going to be taking a quarterback. And so out of BYU, while it's going to take some time, and I'm not going to say that he's the next Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, but some of the throws that he makes are completely out of this world, and these are throws that not too many men on this planet can make. And so the New York Jets cannot afford to pass up on the tantalizing potential that this young prospect offers. Zach Wilson to number 2 in the NFL draft. Moving on to number 3, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, just about a month ago, this team was sitting at number 12 overall, but after a trade with the Miami Dolphins in which they sent their first-round pick at number 12 overall, 2 future first-round picks and a third-round pick, well, here they are now, standing at number 3 overall. A lot of people have been linking them to Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and now it kind of seems as if Justin Fields has fallen out of their favor. Well, I'm going to shut down all that Mac Jones to San Fran talk. Now, as a Seahawks guy, I would love to see Mac Jones in San Francisco, and I'm just not sure if he's that much of an upgrade over Jimmy G. I just have a hard time being able to convince myself that the San Francisco 49ers jumped up 9 spots and mortgaged a lot of their future to take a guy like Mac Jones. Now, nothing against Mac Jones. He's definitely worthy of being selected in the first round, but in the top 3, no, I do not believe so. He's not very athletic. He displayed lots of great traits, leadership abilities. He's a very accurate quarterback, and while he's not very athletic, that shouldn't stop teams from taking him in the first round. And even if he is a perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan's system, even if he is this arrogant coach that thinks he doesn't need an all-world quarterback, well, I just think that with the rest of the San Francisco 49ers brass, they're not going to allow Kyle Shanahan to run away with this pick. And so, therefore, I have them going with Trey Lance out of North Dakota State University. While he is a long-term project, while he's very raw, they still do have Jimmy G, and until he's traded, he will be the starter entering training camp. And that's the perfect situation for a guy like Trey Lance, who really hasn't played much in the last couple of seasons. Obviously, because of COVID, he only played in one game last year, and that was for a small school. He's very athletic. He's very raw. He has all the leadership traits and abilities that you want to see in a star quarterback, but he has a lot of things to work on as far as his game, as far as being a complete quarterback. He has accuracy issues, and he can't stand to improve in Kyle Shanahan's system. And so I think this is the perfect fit for the San Francisco 49ers in the long run. And as a Seahawks guy, as a Seahawks fan, we all hate to see this, but I believe in Trey Lance, and I think he has a lot of potential, and I think San Francisco believes in him just as much. Moving on to number 4 overall, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Now, if you keep up with Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons, well, you would know that the Atlanta Falcons recently restructured Matt Ryan's contract just a couple of months ago, and we all understand that he's 35 going on 36. We all understand that he's a lot closer to the end of his prime than the beginning of it, and so that begs the question, well, is it time to start building for the future? Does Arthur Smith want to continue to retool around Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and those boys? Yes, and also no. While they're kind of in a tough spot in the NFL because it seems like they're in NFL purgatory, I don't think this is the time to go for a quarterback, even if they look at a quarterback like Justin Fields and Mac Jones and believe that they're the future. I just think that with Matt Ryan, the fact that he's only going on 36 years old, he still has a lot of shelf life in the NFL. He didn't show a whole lot of decline last season. He still has so many weapons at his disposal. Now, the defense leaves a lot to be desired, and even if they were to add a dynamic playmaker like Kyle Pitts, that doesn't fix their issues on defense. But Matt Ryan still has at least another 3, 4, maybe even 5 years left in his career, and so Atlanta could definitely go after a quarterback later on. They could go after a quarterback later in this draft, but I think they cannot, I repeat, they cannot afford to pass up on the best tight end prospect in the last 40 to 50 years. And I feel somewhat disrespectful, or I feel like I'm even disrespecting Kyle Pitts by even calling him a tight end, because that would minimize, or that would make it look as if he can't do anything else on the field but be a tight end. He should just be classified as an offensive weapon. He can play wide receiver. He's versatile. While he might not be the best blocker, him and Atlanta would create a formidable trio with him, Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley. And seeing as that Julio Jones is starting to seem like he's on the decline, well, Kyle Pitts can come in and step up for Julio Jones. He could take over and replace Julio Jones in the next couple of seasons whenever the Falcons deem it necessary to move on from Julio Jones. And so you bring in a guy like Kyle Pitts, he could be the best prospect in this entire NFL draft. But because these teams are going after quarterbacks, well, he's going to fall into the laps and into the hands of the Atlanta Falcons at number 4 overall. Moving on to number 5 overall, we got the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock. And I got the Cincinnati Bengals taking offensive tackle Penei Sewell from Oregon. And he did opt out of last season, but he shows lots of promise, and he's super athletic. You just don't find too many human beings on planet Earth as big as him that can move like he can. And while he might not be the most polished blocker, he does have a little bit to work on from the standpoint of he could stand and improve his technique. He could be stronger, but like I said, he's super athletic, supremely athletic for a guy that big, and you just can't teach that. And so Cincinnati, while they do have Jonah Williams from Alabama in the fold, while they did sign Riley Reif, they absolutely need protection, and they need to protect Joe Burrow. While it might be very enticing and it might be too promising to pass up on Jamar Chase, they need to address the offensive line. And I'm also with the mindset that they could take a receiver at this position, but seeing as how this draft is absolutely loaded at wide receiver, they could take a wide receiver in the second round since they do have an early pick in that round. They could go Penei Sewell this time around and address wide receiver later on. And so now is the time to protect Joe Burrow. They could slide Riley Reif or Jonah Williams to maybe the right side or maybe even to guard, but they cannot afford to pass up on a prospect like Penei Sewell. Think of flashbacks in the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs had all the weapons in the world. They had some of the best weapons in the world, but what's that going to do for you if your offensive line is abysmal? So the pick for number 5 is Penei Sewell to the Cincinnati Bengals. At number 6 overall, the Miami Dolphins. This one's easy. They need a pass catcher, and after trading down from number 3 overall, well, they're getting one of the best, if not the best wide receiver in this draft in Jamar Chase. Once again, while he wasn't opt-out last season, he feels a direct need for the Miami Dolphins. Devontae Parker's production took a step down last season. Will Fuller is only there for a 1-year deal, and now you need to surround Tua Tagovailoa with all the weapons that he needs to be successful, and you do that by giving him the best receiver on the board. Jamar Chase is honestly the best receiver to be in the draft since Julio Jones in 2011. He's just that good. And the numbers that he put up with Joe Burrow a couple years ago, that was no fluke. That was no coincidence. He's really just that talented. And while there might be some concerns about his ability to run block or his route running, there shouldn't be any questions about his talent whatsoever. And this feels like an exact need for the Miami Dolphins. At number 6 overall, they take Jamar Chase from LSU. Moving on to number 7, I actually have a trade in this draft, and I don't usually do trades or conduct trades in my mock drafts, but I think that this team is desperate enough to make a trade, seeing as how there is still a quarterback on the board that they might want to draft. And so from number 7 overall, we're going from the Detroit Lions. I have them trading down to number 9 overall with the Denver Broncos, who move up to number 7 overall to leapfrog other quarterback-needy teams such as the Washington Football Team, the Chicago Bears, or even the New England Patriots. And so at number 7 overall, they take the guy that should be the second best quarterback in this year's draft class. That's right, Justin Fields from the Ohio State. I don't have the same concerns that a lot of these other draft experts and analysts have. I'm not too concerned about his ability or his inability to not make his second reads or third reads or fourth reads and whatnot. I don't care about any of that. He's supremely talented. He's super athletic. And while the history at Ohio State and their way of developing quarterbacks isn't great, I think that Justin Fields is in a tier all on his own. He's a mobile quarterback. He is the future of the NFL. We look at stars and one of the best we look at stars and the best quarterbacks in all the NFL today. Well, these guys are mobile. These guys are supremely athletic. They can make all the throws. They can throw the deep ball. They're great leaders, and Justin Fields is exactly all that, and maybe even then some. And so the Denver Broncos are getting an absolute steal here. They could be getting the second best quarterback in the draft, but because of how things are playing out, well, he just so happens to fall into their hands. At number 7 overall, I got Justin Fields to the Denver Broncos. Moving on to number 8, we got the Carolina Panthers. Now, I think that they're a team that could be a candidate to trade down, but in this scenario, I don't see that happening. And so with that being said, they got to protect their new shiny toy in Sam Darnold. So how else do you do that? Well, you take the second best remaining offensive lineman on the board, and that happens to be Rashaan Slater from Northwestern. There are concerns about his length, or there are concerns about his lack of arm length and why that could potentially move him to guard instead of playing tackle. But because of how well he played in college, especially against Chase Young a couple years ago, I think that teams definitely need to give him a chance at tackle. And if he struggles there, then you can move him to guard. But his versatility, his ability to play any position on the offensive line makes him a luxury pick at this point. And the Carolina Panthers can sit back and draft him. So number 8 overall, Rashaan Slater from Northwestern to the Carolina Panthers. Number 9 overall, we got the Detroit Lions after trading back with the Denver Broncos. The Detroit Lions could definitely go in a number of directions here, but in an offseason in which they lost pretty much all the receiver talent, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, they have absolutely no receivers, and that cupboard is very bare for Jared Goff. He's not going to have any weapons. Even if Jared Goff isn't the quarterback of the future, well, he needs somebody to throw to, and if you wanted to see if he is the quarterback of the future, well, then you give him some weapons. And with that being said, why not surround him with the reigning Heisman Trophy Player of the Year and Devonta Smith? It's almost unprecedented. Devonta Smith was putting up numbers with all sorts of quarterbacks, all different sorts of systems, and while he was surrounded by other elite playmakers at the position, the fact that he was able to do what he was doing at 160 pounds, keep in mind, this dude was only 10 pounds, or he might be 170 pounds actually, but keep in mind, whether it's 160 or 170, he's barely just above my weight at 150 pounds or so. For him to do what he was doing, I mean, that's absolutely crazy. That's phenomenal, and he can run all the routes in the world. He's explosive. He's athletic. He has the traits to be a great wide receiver at the next level. And so I'm definitely taking Devonta Smith at number 9 overall if I'm the Detroit Lions GM. Moving on to number 10, we got the Dallas Cowboys. And they have all the weapons in the world on offense, but they have absolutely nobody on defense. They have some brand names there, but they do need some help in the secondary. And on my board, the best cornerback is still there. And so Patrick Surtain of the Alabama Crimson Tide is going to be going to the Dallas Cowboys at number 10 overall. You can almost book this one in. They need help. They can also surround him with his former teammate Trevon Diggs from Alabama last season, and they could create one of the best duos at corner in the NFL by drafting Patrick Surtain. Supremely athletic. He has the perfect size. He could lock you up man-to-man. You name it. Versatile. Can play in any scheme. He's an absolute perfect fit. And he feels a need for the Dallas Cowboys, and so this one's easy here. Patrick Surtain of the Alabama Crimson Tide to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, moving on to number 11, we got the New York Giants, and this one's another easy pick for me. If I'm Dave Gettleman, I'm taking Jaylen Waddle, another Alabama. That makes the 3rd straight Alabama Crimson Tide pick here at number 11. You got to surround Daniel Jones with as many weapons as possible. And I understand they signed Kenny Golladay in free agency to a massive 4-year, $70 million contract? Well, that's not enough. Evan Ingram still suffers from drops. Kyle Rudolph, not enough at tight end. Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard are great receivers at number 3 and number 4, but they need more help at wide receiver. Even if Saquon Barkley is going to be catching a lot of passes out of the backfield, if I'm looking to see if Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the future, I'm going to give him as many weapons as possible. And with that being said, Jaylen Waddle, electrifying. He might just be about my height, but the things that he can do on the football field are reminiscent of that of Tyreek Hill. He's just that fast. And while he might not have too much tape in regards to his ability to play against pressure or being pressed at the line of scrimmage, well, I'm not too sure if those are really concerns. He is coming off an ankle injury as well, but I think that at this point in the draft, the New York Giants have to surround Daniel Jones with another playmaker, and they do so by adding the most dynamic playmaker on the board in Jaylen Waddle. Now, for the final pick in my NFL mock draft top 12, we got the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock, and they too also need help at wide receiver, but with Devonta Smith, Jaylen Waddle, Kyle Pitts, and Jamar Chase all off the board by this pick, well, they can't take a quarterback unless they want Mac Jones, because I don't think Mac Jones is an upgrade over Jalen Hurts at this stage in their careers. And so with that being said, they can look to address another need in their secondary, in that cornerback spot opposite Darius Slay, and they could do so by taking South Carolina's J.C. Horn at number 12 overall. His stock has completely risen in the last couple of weeks, and if you need a guy that can shut down your opposing team's best wide receiver, well, J.C. Horn is the guy. And being that he's also the best player available on my board, will the Philadelphia Eagles get a steal? And this is a great value pick for them at number 12 overall. They take the second best corner in the draft and one of the best remaining players on my board. So once again, just to recap, my top 12, number 1 overall, Trevor Lawrence to the Jags. Number 2 overall, Zach Wilson to the New York Jets. Number 3 overall, Trey Lance to the San Francisco 49ers. Number 4 overall, Kyle Pitts to the Falcons. Number 5, Penei Sewell to the Bengals. 6, Jamar Chase to the Dolphins. 7, Justin Fields to the Broncos. Number 8, Rashaan Slater to the Panthers. Number 9, Devonta Smith to the Lions. Number 10, Patrick Surtain to the Cowboys. Number 11, Jaylen Waddle to the New York Giants. And then finally, number 12, J.C. Horn to the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What would you change in my NFL top 12 mock draft? Am I tripping on some of these? Am I sleeping on some guys? Let me know what you guys think. Give me your top 12 mock draft in the comments below. Once again, don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at SteezySmith to keep up to date with all the latest content in the sports world. Be sure to tune in this Thursday for the NFL draft. And if you guys want to send us any DMs in regards to future projects, future video ideas, let us know. Well, that concludes this video. We have loads of other content on our channel homepage. Be sure to check that out. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.